Hi, welcome to everybody. I'm Neil, and I work for Wild Goose Publications, part of the Wild Goose Publications team with Sandra, Jane, Gail, and Iona there on Zoom. Thanks for being the Zoom master again tonight, Iona. That's great. So tonight we have reading poems or prayers or pieces for Lent and Holy Week. We have Nicholas Lee, Joe Love, Bonnie Thurston, Alex Claire Young, Martin Halsell, and Janet Killeen. And I might chip in even. So we're starting with Nicola. Hi, Nicola. Nicola's a professor at the Queen's Foundation. She's written widely in the field of feminist liturgy and poetry, as well as spirituality and prayer, contributing to really classic anthologies like Celebrating Women. I remember selling that at the Iona Community shop. It's a great book, as well as co-editing with Rosie Miles the book Doing December Differently, an alternative Christmas handbook, and that's a Wild Goose book from a wee while back. It still stands up well. And her own books include classics, I think, like Praying Like a Woman and the Book of Mary. How are you doing tonight, Nicolo? Before we were starting, we were talking about flowers coming up in the garden. I got some daffodils coming up. We got some snowdrops coming up. Other things, we're not sure what they are yet. They turn up one year and then they don't turn up another year. But it's good that they turn up. Anything coming up if you have a garden?
Yes. And we just had, well, actually it's gone cold again now, but we have had some lovely warm weather over the last week. And I feel like I've sort of woken up after a long winter hibernation. So,
Yeah.
one responds to the new life.
You do it. It's amazing that feeling, that energy flowing in your body. I immediately feel
definitely
like happier.
Well,
great. Thanks for being here. I'll turn it over to you to read a couple pieces for Lent or Holy Week.
Thanks, Neil. Really, really nice to be here with everybody, and amongst some writers whose work I know and value a great deal. So it's great to be in this Wild Goose company. The hardest thing really was just deciding which two pieces to read, and I'm going to read one published piece and one very new piece which isn't yet published. So the first piece I'm going to read is from my book Abba Amma, Improvisations on the Lord's Prayer, and I have a chapter in that book which is called Prayers from the Desert, and it was very much inspired by stories and sayings from the desert Ammas and Abbas, particularly from a little book edited by Renewal of those sayings. And I'm going to read one which is called Prayer for Simplicity, and this was inspired, if you like, by a short, tiny little story. If you know the Abba, the desert Abbas and Ammas, you'll know that they, very succinct with their words. Which is something I find quite difficult. So it was a challenge in this chapter in particular to write short and simple prayers. A brother asked Abba Hierakus, if that's how you pronounce his name, "Give me a word. How can I be saved?" The old man said to him, "Sit in your cell. If you are hungry, eat. If you are thirsty, drink. And just do not speak evil of anyone, and you will be saved." And that for me conjures something of the spirit of Lent, which I think is a time for trying to come back to essentials. And if there's a value in fasting, which I think there is, it is to try to get in touch with our most basic hungers and desires, and to put aside some of the ephemera and the luxuries of choice that we are privileged with, many of us. And that's what this prayer for simplicity attempts to do. Prayer for simplicity. Abba, Amma, let me live a simple life. When I am hungry, may I eat. When I am thirsty, may I drink. When I am cold, may I light the fire. When I am hot, may I find the trees' shade. When I am tired, may I rest. When I awake, may I work. and may I speak evil of no living thing. Thus may I be saved. The second piece I'd like to read is a piece I've written just within the last couple of weeks, when Peter Fisher, who was the principal at Queen's when I first came to Queen's in 1997, initially for a term as a visiting scholar, and then I never really got away. I've been at Queen's I've actually now formally retired, but I still have a sort of honorary role. And I was at a stage in my life when I was had gone through quite a lot of losses, and I suppose Queen's took me in and gave me a home. And Peter Fisher, that principal, has just died last week of cancer. And I spoke to him a couple of weeks ago, and his wife Elizabeth. And Elizabeth said to me, "Nicola, will you do something for us?" So, you know, of course, you don't refuse a request from a dying man. So I said, "Yes, what would you like me to do?" "Would you write Peter a poem?" she said, which felt like quite a tall order to write a poem for somebody who was in their final days of life. Anyway, I wrote this poem, and why I think it's appropriate for Lent, because I also think Lent and Holy Week is a time where we face our mortality. If you come from a tradition like I do, where on Ash Wednesday we're marked with the sign of the cross in ash, and each person is said, "Remember, O mortal, you are dust. From dust you come, and to dust you will return." And then, of course, the whole Passiontide, the story of Jesus' death. Although we won't face a death, hopefully, most of us won't face a death like his. It is a time for facing into our mortality and our death. The other theme that's woven into this poem is the theme of finding a home, and which is something that I was offered a home at Queen's, and something I've been thinking about quite a lot this Lent as I've been reading the Gospel of John, and the theme in John of abiding in Jesus and making our home in God, and the way that Jesus makes his home in us. It's a very, very rich theme in the Gospel of John. So themes of home, and particularly where Jesus talks about preparing a room for us in heaven. Some of those themes lie behind this poem. So it's quite enough explanation. I just need to read the poem, which is called Facing Homewards, for Peter Fisher. When I was ill, bereaved, and had lost my bearings, you welcomed me into a community of learning and prayer, gave me a room with a desk and a view over green, asked little of me, but gave me a few small tasks so I could offer something back. Later, you came with us to view a house in Sturchley, which was to become home. Modest enough, but you gave us confidence to go ahead. In these places we have taken root, blossomed and borne fruit, while you have travelled north. Now you are confined to one room, fatigued, barely able to speak, yet I can hear it's you on the phone. Others care for you, wrap you round with love and prayer. Your friends join in from a distance. Once weak, now strong. Once strong, now weak. Such reversals are the stuff of life. Yet love and faith grow stronger as the body slackens and loosens its grip. We're all heading the same way, of course, into that haven of heaven where we will be welcomed, provided a room. The view will be endless. Thank you.
Thank you, Nicola. I think I'll read one. This might or might not be for Lent or Holy Week, but it's maybe for the time we're in. But I wrote this quite a while ago. I wrote this in the period after 9/11. It's called "Oh America, I Love You," after Allen Ginsberg. Oh America, I love you. not as you are now, but the dream of you. No, not the dream, but what you could be, what you truly could be. Oh, America, I love you. I love Henry David Thoreau. I love Walt Whitman. I love Jackson Brown. I love Thomas Paine. I love your prophets. Oh, America, when will you listen to your prophets? Oh, America, you are breaking my heart. Oh, America, what have you become? Oh, America, have you gone mad? Oh, America, maybe you were always crazy and I didn't fully realize it, didn't want to believe it. Wars in Vietnam, Cambodia, Nicaragua, coups in Chile, Indonesia, Haiti, deals with dictators in Panama, Guatemala, Iraq. Oh, America, I read you gave $3 billion to Osama bin Laden and his fellow terrorists. Oh, America, I read you gave millions to Saddam Hussein. Oh, America, when will you repent of your great wealth built on slavery? Oh, America, when will you repent of the genocide of the Native American people? Oh, America, when will you stop sending the poor to die for you? Oh, America, I am full of light and dark too. I understand in a way. I've enslaved others. I've slaughtered friends. I understand. We understand. Oh, America, will you humble yourself or will you be humbled? Oh, America, the world is waiting for you to be true to your word. Oh, America, if only you did what you said. Oh, America, there is still something about you so beautiful and great. Oh, America, I want to dance with you all night at Mardi Gras. Oh, America, I want to drive with you down Highway 61 with the windows open and the warm, fragrant night wind flowing through our long, starry hair. Oh, America, I want to eat and laugh with you in a corner booth in a diner in New York City. Oh, America, I want to sleep with you under the evergreens in Washington State. Oh, America, I want to kiss you in the morning in a cottage in New England. Oh, America, remember when they used to call you the New Jerusalem? Now they call you the Great Satan. Oh, America, you had such promise. Oh, America, I love you. I love you. For God's sake, you spend $30,000 a second on your military. Are you so bloody insecure? Oh, America, choose life, not rapture. Make it a slogan if it helps. Make it a t-shirt. Oh, America, when will you really save the world? You could, you bastard, you bitch, you could. You could save the world. You could feed every starving child. It's your manifest destiny. You could feed the world. Oh, America, you want to be God's chosen? Well, go ahead. Be God's chosen. Well, go ahead. Do it. Feed the hungry, free the slaves, shelter the poor huddled masses, the hunted refugees, the tortured. Oh, America, are you blind? It is within your power. Don't you realize? Oh, America, you have the power, the resources, the money, the intelligence, the spirit to save the world. Oh, America, your leader told the world, you are either with us or against us. Oh, America, what's next? Iran, Syria, North Korea, apocalypse? Oh, America, I can no longer abide you. Oh, America, I never dreamed your neurosis would win out in the end. Oh, America, I want to tell you something. But before I do, I want to say this. Everything you want, I want. Democracy, peace, freedom, an end to terrorism. You are either with us or against us. Okay, America, if that's the way it has to be, then I am against you. There, I've said it. It breaks my heart. Does that make me a terrorist? Oh, America, there are so many like me. Your daughters and sons are fleeing by the plane load. I meet them in pubs. I meet them on the road. They are embarrassed to be your children. They deny you. Oh, America, they look up at me and ask, but where in the world is there left to go? Oh, America, they look so sad. Oh, America, we will come together. Oh, America, we will never give in to sadness, hopelessness, and fear. Oh, America, we will stand in the way of your capitalist tanks. Oh, America, we will live in communities and affirm and love one another. Oh, America, we will take to the hills and live as ascetic peace monks if need be. Oh, America, we will use guerrilla media tactics. Oh, America, we will fight your giant and beastly corporations with the power and beauty of the human spirit and the holy weapon of nonviolence. Oh, America, we are immune to security and comfort. Oh, America, you will never enslave us with cocaine, junk entertainment, sick sex. Oh, America, we will work and never tire. Oh, America, we will stay rooted in prayer and meditation. Oh, America, we will keep a sense of humor in this dark age. Oh, America, everything you say you want, we want. Everything you say you are working for, we will work for. We will work to topple dictators and bring democracy. We will work to bring an end to terrorism. We will work to free the oppressed and enslaved of this world. We will work for justice and peace and a new world order modeled on the kingdom of love. Oh, America, we will turn your world upside down. Thanks. I think Joe's there.
Joe's here. Hello.
Hi, Joe. So Joe's a resource worker with the Wild Goose Resource Group, and she's the author of The Jar and the Jug, imaginative retellings of Old Testament Bible stories for adults and children, and that's a Wild Goose Publications book at www.ionabooks.com. And you're also a longtime contributor to Spill the Beans. Spill the Beans is still going strong, isn't it?
It is. It's still going strong. Yeah, yeah.
It's good to hear. Okay, well, I'll hand it over to you, Joe. Thanks.
Thanks, Neil. So, in keeping with what Neil just said, I write a lot of biblical retellings, and these two that are very Holy Week based, they will be coming out at some point in the follow-up to The Jar and the Jug, which is a book that's getting put together called The Soldiers and the Cloak. So this first one is from gospel stories that we hear around Palm Sunday. And I'm going to pull in Iona to help me do this because I'm very fond of teamwork in this kind of writing. So this is a 2-voice script and it's called For the Love of Jesus.
It happened days before Jesus died.
It happened days before Jesus died.
A whole crowd of people showed how they loved him.
A solitary woman showed how she loved him.
They were with him in the city streets.
She intruded upon him in a private home.
It all started with following instructions.
It all started with breaking boundaries.
Finding a donkey and its colt.
Carrying a jar and its perfume.
So there was Jesus, sitting astride the colt.
So there was Jesus, sitting at the dinner table.
They cast off their coats.
He broke open the perfume jar.
And spread them under his feet.
And poured it over his head.
And as their moving carpet of adulation flowed in front of him, they shouted in praise.
And as her moving show of devotion flowed to his shoulders, she said, not a word.
Hosanna! Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. Hosanna in the highest. They proclaimed his greatness in noisy exuberance.
She proclaimed his greatness in silent extravagance.
Their words and actions spoke of him as their Messiah who would be king.
Her silence and actions spoke of him as her master who would be killed.
Their coats were torn, and he was worth it.
Her riches were spent, and he was worth it.
Nobody said they shouldn't have done it. What a party!
Some people said she shouldn't have done it. What a waste!
Jesus said nothing, for they had done a beautiful thing for him.
Jesus said, "Leave her alone. Why do you trouble her? She has done a beautiful thing for me."
And what they did to show their love has been remembered ever since.
And what she did to show her love has been remembered ever since.
Under his feet,
Over his head,
they did what they could
she did what she could.
for their love of him.
And this second piece very much belongs on Good Friday. I'm picking up on what we hear, different details that we hear, and it's simply called Dying Moments. He was dying. And what were they doing? What were they doing, the ones who carried out their orders? Their work done for now. Another cross piece nailed to the tree. Another criminal stripped and roped and stretched. Now what? His last remaining possessions heaped in the dust. Picked up and redistributed, perks of the death trade. What about this fine tunic? Seamlessly made. Too good to tear apart. Casting their lots, somebody's prize. A handsome one-piece woven robe, trophy of the day. Plenty of wear. Not to be torn up. A satisfying game in the waiting time. He was dying. And what were they doing? What were they doing, the ones who called him son and rabbi? Their weeping done for now. Helpless to help him. Shocked into silence. His nakedness turning their gaze away. Now what? Hearing his last selfless plea, embarrassed eyes drawn to behold him. Nothing left to give. He gives them to each other. Here, their best hope, keeping together as they are torn apart, casting their lots with him still, a glimmer of light in the waiting time. He was dying, and what could he do? What could he do but thirst? Thirst for the wine of the kingdom, to drink it again beyond pain and tears and parting. A sponge at his lips, sucking on sourness and gall, the last taste of earth, a mouthful soaked in mercy, a moment's relief in the waiting time. Waiting for a day's work to be done. Waiting for an inescapable grieving. Waiting for release.
Thank you, Joe. And thanks, Iona. So we have Bonnie reading next. Bonnie out in West Virginia. Bonnie resigned a professorship and chair in the New Testament to live quietly in her home state in West Virginia. She's the author of many academic books, books on spirituality, and several collections of poetry, 2 on Wild Goose. The newest one is Wondrous Love, Poems and Meditations for Holy Week. And this reading tonight is also a launch of that book, and we're very happy to publish that book. And Bonnie, you live quietly in West Virginia, but I think of you as, I could be wrong, I think of you as a person that really balances prayer and action a lot. I know you work at the food pantry there. Is that true? Is that how you see yourself these days, as kind of a contemplative that's you're there's a lot of action too in what you're doing in your community? Oh, I can't hear you. You're on mute. Hopefully, Bonnie, you'll.
There we go.
Yeah.
I am a computer imbecile and the last human being on the planet not to have a cell phone.
I don't have one either.
Oh, good. There are 2 of us.
Yep.
No, I don't really think of myself as much of an activist, but I live in an area where there's a lot of need, and I think we need to do what we can do in the places where we are. So I don't make a big deal about it, but yes, I've worked at the food pantry for 22 years, and write a little bit and grow a few things. There it is.
Esther DeWall said about your poetry on the back of one of your books. You were in skilled hands here, so let yourself be carried along, ready to experience delight or be jarred into discomfort. Above all, ponder, weigh, take time. For each poem comes out of the quiet depths of a person who is a fellow pilgrim, illuminating the familiar with their own God-given insight. So please read a couple pieces for us.
Thank you, and thank you, Esther. I'm going to read 2 poems, one for Palm Sunday and one for the days after Easter. So these are just sort of bookend. There's the beautiful cover that Wild Goose did for us. The first poem is called Palm Sunday Procession, and it's for Sister Benedicta Ward, SLG, who wrote a wonderful little book called In the Company of Christ, a pilgrimage through Holy Week, which I highly recommend to you. She is a Sister of the Love of God in Oxford, probably was the most important historian of the early church in the United Kingdom of any of the scholars. So this poem is called Palm Sunday Procession for Benedicta Ward. Go gently. This is not a rush to accomplish or to make good time, to put distance between ourselves and the things we flee. It is time to allow the slowest ones to set the pace, to be attentive to balance and imbalance, which is what it is to walk on the earth. To remember the unseen always walking among us, and that we are the asses carrying the king. Glory, laud, and honor are not rituals made to tame mystery, but only his who walks before us, waving our humanness like a palm branch through the darkness toward the lilies and the light. So that's where we begin on Holy Week, and then we end up with the aftermath of Easter. I always find that I just want to be quiet on Easter. I often go up on the hill behind the house just on Easter or the couple of days after. I don't want to talk to anybody. I just want to let it all settle in. And this is called Living Among the Dead. And the superscription is, why do you look for the living among the dead, which you'll recognize from the Lucan resurrection story. Why do you look for the living among the dead? Ours is a disinclination to wait, especially in solitude and unknowing. The popular tendency is to escape to bright, crowded places, somewhere well lit and public. A shiny chain store or restaurant, the arrivals hall at a big airport, the principal Sunday service at a loud, extroverted megachurch. Anywhere but alone in semi-darkness. To find what is ardently sought, though perhaps not clearly articulated, one must retrieve and dust off from the mind's moldering attic that underemployed latent capacity, the always lambent imagination, which nudges us toward realizing that what we seek, what we long for, what we need, could enter by an unaccustomed door and emerge quietly from our own shadow.
Thank you.
Happy Holy Week to everybody.
Thank you. Thank you for being with us. I know it's not easy there in the
Pleasure.
wilds of West Virginia. I'm just glancing at the chat. I don't know if you're not too into computers, Bonnie. You're probably not chance.
Well, I can press buttons.
Oh yeah. Well, that's good. I see Nicola Sleeve who has written. I'm so glad to hear Bonnie read.
Thank you very much indeed.
By she's saying having been introduced to your work via Esther Duvall's books.
Thank you, Nicola.
Hello, poets. Alex Claire Young is the author of Transgender Christian Human, and that's published by Wild Goose Publications, and also the book Transformations, Grounding Theology in Trans and Non-Binary Lives, and that's an SCM publication. How are you doing today, Alex?
I'm good, thank you.
It's good to see you. I haven't seen you for a wee bit on one of these Zooms, so it's very nice to have you. So just
Thank you.
things over to you to read a couple pieces for Lent and or Holy Week.
Perfect, thank you. So this first one that I'm going to read isn't so specifically tied into Holy Week, but I hope works because it's thinking a little bit about new life and what new life might mean for us. And it's a prayer, and then I'll follow it with a newer poem that has been written for Holy Week. God, we thank you that your story isn't over yet. We thank you for the countercultural potential of new life, of new hope, of transformation. We commit here and now to imagining a new, radically inclusive world into being. Creator, we thank you that the story of creation isn't over yet. We thank you for giving us the creativity to mirror you, to recognize and to create in ourselves and in each other new ways of being, of identifying, of loving. We ask you to recreate us anew each day. Jesus, we thank you that your story isn't over yet. We thank you that as Christ you walk among us, in us, you are one of us, you are all of us. We commit to living in your radical grace and to treating others with dignity and love. Spirit, we thank you that you breathe a new story into us. We thank you that as rainbows of refracted light, as cool, refreshing pools, as tongues of passionate fire, you speak and sing and live in our dreaming and in our being. We ask you to whisper to us tonight. So if you want more like that one's from Grace Like Glitter, which is a Wild Goose resource written by a group of LGBTQIA plus folks who spent time at the Abbey a few years ago together. This next one I've just written recently for this Holy Week, and it's kind of recognizing, I guess, that Holy Week and Easter are times where I think of the links in Celtic Christianity between the world around us and the story of resurrection, but also times where I grieve a lot for the world we live in right now. And as you might guess from what you just heard about my publications, a lot of that comes back to the kind of culture wars that are going on at the moment in the USA and the UK particularly. And so I wrote a series of haikus, actually, one for each day of Holy Week, called Easter Beyond Binaries. So I suppose the poem itself is a little bit beyond binaries because it's either one poem or seven, depending. But I hope that Neil will count it as one for us today. And I'm going to share my screen because there are some images which go with it, which I think help. So this is Easter Beyond Binaries. Monday. Lichen, species or multiplicities, dwellers of the unlikely. Tuesday. Fire, solid, liquid, gas, plasma. No, none of these. Crossing boundaries. Wednesday. An axolotl, juvenile, adult, or both. Regenerating. Thursday. Dark matter, known only by effects unseen, immeasurable. Friday. The earthworm, male, female, both, neither, chaos and form, alive in their graves. Saturday. Us. Images of a god who harrows culture wars, a hell we made. Sunday. And the male seahorse, carrying eggs which burst forth in new life.
That was brilliant. Alive in their graves. I love that line. Your Iona weeks, Alex, were pretty legendary, and I know they were good for a lot of people. I've heard that. Is there any one coming up again sometime, or any ideas for that?
Thank you. Not soon, but hopefully again at some point. But we're about to do a trans retreat in Thirsk this year. So you're stuck with Thirsk this year if you want one, but hopefully Iona again sometime soon.
Good. Thanks again. Martin Halsall is the author of many books. I think Lent, which is published by Wild Goose Publications, was his fourth collection of poetry. It's poems embracing the Lenten season, not just as a Christian observance, but as a state of being, one of wilderness, waiting, and transformation. Life itself, he suggests, is something we are lent, a gift, a process, a question still unfolding. Hi, Martin. How are you doing tonight?
Thank you very much. There are 70 poems in the collection Lent, and what I'd like to do is to read the first and the last in the collection to give something of a bridgehead between and across the book. So the poems begin at first light with a memory of cycling to work as a reporter many years ago now on the Oxford Mail newspaper, pedalling along the towpath and beginning to consider what the news of that day might be. Was it going to be the official diary agenda or something otherwise that might take us by surprise? And this poem's called Electric Blue. First light. Bike tires sizzle as the dynamo clicked to the rim and powered up a fitful beam. Wheels within wheels, down side roads to the towpath. Thin dawn seeped back, outlining silhouettes. Charcoal of wintering trees, a wash of orange tinting the water to a watercolour as tarmac's hum changed down for wash of gravel. Mudguards lined red and brown with speckled clay. Then 3-speed in top gear along the level, fast pedalling through gathering detail to the early shift, to list the radio headlines, clip the papers. The water boatman crews, skimming meniscus. A blue flash flared, as if rehearsing lightning, setting another agenda for that morning. Not that a small bird spearing air would counter the news list with its accidents and inquests. Yet it saved vital, still comes to life again whenever the world turns natural and electric. And the collection is completed or ends with a sequence of poems called Lament, which I feel is a necessary condition of remembering what is lost and honouring those who have guided us into the tense present. And this final poem was written in memory of the great Scottish poet John Burnside, who wrote so gently, yet so penetratingly, of his historic Catholic faith and its immersion in the natural world that he and his writing have honoured. Requiem in memory of John Burnside. Dusk. When we realise we have never owned this day, but rather it was something lent. Trees meet to weave his name. Tonight as requiem and wait, as he might stand inside a wood in border light and stay for night to come, summoning wild creatures always dear to him. He sent out words to question faith at twilight, those echoes from black scriptures and the Mass, that tentative pace towards the sign of the cross. And if we'd met, what more for us to say than what he had written already? Enlightening days, boyhood's creeds, always with him, like a shade, lightening our darkness, opening those possible years, calling us from the far side of the trees. Thank you.
Thank you, Martin. So those are both poems from Lent. That is Martin's book Lent, and that's published by Wild Goose, www.ionabooks.com. Or if you're looking for any books by any of the other folk that are reading tonight. This is called Setting Out, Iona 2000. And it's from, well, that's kind of blurry. It's from Iona Dawn, a wee anthology I put together. Setting Out, Iona 2000. We got up while it was still dark and gathered in Colshuna to say goodbye to Martina, Kieran, Maya, Raheem, Sarah and Maggie, Jack and Dot, and Billy. We held the service in the living room out of the Iona Abbey worship book. During the prayers, we gave thanks to God for our time together and asked Jesus to be with everyone on the road. In silence, we held hands, then sang, "Sent by the Lord am I." At breakfast, Kieran was saying that he would be working in a homeless shelter in Glasgow. Maggie said she was going back to school to be a midwife. Jack and Dot were opening a house of welcome for asylum seekers and refugees. I asked Billy what he was going to do. He said he wasn't sure. It hadn't really dawned on him yet, but he knew it would, in time. He'd follow his heart. He'd learned to do that here, follow his heart. It was the same as following Jesus, Billy said. Helen called that the ferry was coming. We ate our toast on the run. Someone said Jesus was already on the ferry. Kieran said no, he was probably halfway to Glasgow by now. At the jetty, we hugged and said we'd keep in touch. The air was salty. Seabirds cried. It felt like hell. The ferry pulled away. We stood in a long line and did the Mexican wave. Sang again. Our friends waved back. Billy blew us a big kiss and we all laughed. Then gradually, in ones and twos and threes, Martina and Kieran and Maya and Raheem and Sarah and Maggie and Jack and Dot and Billy turned to face the sunrise coming up over the mountains of Mull. So, Janet, how are you doing tonight? Janet,
hi.
Oh, good, you're not on mute. Janet's the Desert Shall Bloom, Poems for the Journey from Ash Wednesday to Easter Monday, and The Road Chosen, Poems,
Yes.
Reflections for Holy Week, and those are both published by Wild Goose Publications. Janet's taught in a London comprehensive school over 35 years, published poems, short stories, and 2 novels. So I'll hand it over a couple pieces for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Neil, very much. Hello, everyone. Thank you. It's choosing that's difficult, isn't it? Because you want to say something that's relevant, but I hope this has got a relevance that's about Lent, and it's about the traditional sense of the days in the wilderness. But I would hope it's also really very topical. This is called Bread. Holding the stone, he might remember the vast millennia of its formation, the jostling of tumultuous seas that smoothed and soothed the sliding rocks, compressing, shaping to this perfect oval, satisfying to the hand, sun warm, a loaf of stone, but hard as the rock-strewn path that lay ahead. Perhaps he shared the helpless hunger of a child, generation after generation of famine and failed harvest, the desperation of the mother, her body's drought of everything but love. Or foresaw how the hungry might be fed, a gathered crowd, the broken bread and fish passed out among them until all had eaten. But not all. Not all the endless aching hungers yet to come. Saw too and knew within his racked and famished body's core that one day he would take bread and share it with his friends, a gift of love. Only for him, the bread he gave to them would be as stone, hardened and sullen with betrayal. The one he called a friend ate it and went his way, and it would be an end, as this was a beginning. Perhaps he saw beyond the horror of that evening and the long-drawn day that was to come. He might have seen a road between the hills, the dust stirred by the feet of travellers, heard their eager questioning and welcome to their home, and knew how he would take the bread again, oval and soft, with untold millennia of healing yet to come, of consolations enough for all the hungry and the wronged, the grieving and the weary. He would take the bread and break it for their brokenness, and they would know him. Now, the other one that I've chosen is a different kind of poem, really. Sometimes I really like to imagine, as many of us do, I'm sure, who write, what it must have been like. What would it have been like to have been inside the head of one of those people involved in those extraordinary days of Holy Week? And this poem is called Sleep. I slept, and now I cannot sleep, haunted by the mockery of cockcrow. Remembering that boast, my tears fall like stones. Remembering too all our shuffling protests. Not me, surely not me. The meal's mystery, a horror to us of blood offered against every instinct of zealously observed law. Then the darkening garden and his plea for friendship. Stay with me, stay with me. And he walked away, a little way, to pray. We slept, unaware of what was being wrestled out alone. Only when we saw him returning to us, gaunt, exhausted, weighed down with sorrow, only then did we see our sleep as a betrayal, piercing his heart as surely as the thorns and nails that followed. Then the dark and quiet garden splintered into shouts and the trudge of armed men, torches flaring on our faces, a kiss, and then my slashing folly of a sword stroke. We fled, the dread of it on us, each one to hide, even I, insistent in my boasting, denying him. Then the cock crowing, and my heavy tears falling like stones. Only the women stayed with him throughout that day of darkness. I had seen men pinned against the sky to writhe and die. Horror and shame kept me away. 12, now 11. We clung together through that day and through a restless Sabbath, yet each one was alone, ashamed, afraid. I cannot sleep. Wait and watch, he said. And now we wait and watch, sleepless, waiting for cockcrow, waiting for daybreak, and a faint, shivering hope of a new dawn. Thank you.
So thanks to everyone who read tonight. Nicola, Joe, Bonnie, Alex, Martin, Janet. Thanks to everyone who came. Thanks for everyone out there.
Thank you.
Thanks for buying a Wild Goose book. www.ionabooks.com really helps us. So I wish you a good evening and a meaningful Lent and Holy Week.